Live from the Buffalo Wild Wings studios, it's time to get locked into the best Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
I'll say it. My blood pressure is slightly elevated after last hour. Did you catch any of that spirited discussion with the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, Grayson?
No, but I'm just going through the text and I see somebody saying we have the most irrational, insufferable fan base on the planet. What were you guys talking about? Because it seemed like something I would have loved to be here for.
Oh, man. And anytime you have the expectations conversation or anything resembling it.
Here we go again. Yep.
Opinions get very, very heated very quickly.
Because it's an easy one to misconstrue what somebody's saying.
Very much so. And I learned this lesson once again the hard way last hour. What I don't like, though, is like, some of y'all want to sit here and act like I don't hold the University of Oklahoma to the highest of expectations, that I don't expect the University of Oklahoma to be competing for championships. Folks, the Oklahoma Sooners are the only college football team I've ever cared about. I was less than 2 years old the last time the University of Oklahoma won a national championship in the sport of football. I would love to see the Crimson and Cream climb that mountaintop once again. But I'm also under no delusions as to what it takes to get there, and the reality that especially in the SEC, unless you have a runaway freight train like Alabama did with Nick Saban for a decade and a half, you're not going to be in the championship picture every single year.
The SEC now is the NFL. And what has happened in the NFL? You don't get undefeated champions. Hell, you get champions that have lost 5 games. Now, obviously, that's impossible in college football, but I see that you guys had the discussion of, well, is 8-4 a good year? Is 9-3 a good year? Should we be expecting to win 10, 11 games every single year? It's like, we've got to recalibrate some of these expectations because the way you gauge things 15 years ago is not the same way you can gauge things now. The world is incredibly different. Incredibly different.
And I try to bring up the example pretty regularly of some of the teams that have risen to the highest of heights in the SEC here in the 21st century that aren't Alabama. Because you can't compare what Nick Saban did at Alabama to anything else, any other program in college football, any other situation in college football. Like, if you're expecting to be Nick Saban's Alabama, you're simply being unrealistic. But consider this. Consider some of the SEC programs that have won national titles here in the 21st century. Florida won 2 of them, 2006 and 2008.
Mm-hmm.
You know what their record was in 2007? 9-4.
Yeah, something like that. It was a year where they weren't in the picture.
Mm-hmm. You know what their record was in 2010, the final year of Urban Meyer's tenure? 8-5. You know what their record was in 2005 before they won their first national title of the 21st century? 9-3. How about LSU?
I was about to say, do LSU.
LSU won national titles in 2003 under Saban, 2007 under Les Miles, and 2019 under Ed Orgeron. That national championship season in 2003 was sandwiched between an 8-5 year and a 9-3 year. That national championship in 2007 was immediately followed by an 8-5 season and then a 9-4 season. That 15-0 immaculate campaign in 2019, the most dominant college football team I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes, was followed by a truncated 5-5 season during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yep.
And then the following year they went 6-7 and Orgeron was fired midseason. How about Auburn? Auburn won a national title in 2010. Cam Newton was a quarterback. It was one of the most memorable individual seasons in recent memory by a college football player. One of the greatest seasons the sport has ever seen from a singular player. That 2010 title, sandwiched between campaigns in 2009 and 2011, in which the Tigers went, on both occasions, 8-5. QED, my friend. QED. That's where we're at in the SEC. You're not Nick Saban's Alabama. You will probably never be Nick Saban's Alabama. You can aspire to that, certainly. You can hope the stars align such that that happens. But, folks, you ought to be realistic about the ebb and flow of wins and losses that will naturally occur in this league when you are playing in the most talented and deepest conference in the sport.
And if you do things right, there will be a year or two where you could win 10 games, maybe even 11 games.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, you might go undefeated. You could assemble, especially with the transfer portal, you could assemble 2019 LSU and go undefeated in the regular season. But it's just not going to happen every year. The sport is too volatile and there's too much turnover in this day and age to do that. And look, especially with the expanded playoff, this is the real reason why I think you have to recalibrate how we gauge things. Because there are more people that are realistically playing for a championship now. Because there's 12 and ultimately going to be 16 teams. So you could win 9 games. Hell, in a couple of years, you might be able to win 8 games and get into the playoff. And once you get into the tournament, anything can happen at that point.
Old Chris from San Diego on the text line says, I would have thought under Brent Venables this team would be very disciplined, very little penalties, very little bonehead mistakes. Look, old Chris, I'll be honest with you. Was that a troubling trend through the first couple of years of Brent Venables' tenure? Absolutely. I don't know that at least I don't get the sense. Perspectives may vary. I don't get the sense that we've seen a continual recurrence of bonehead mistakes here in 2025 the way that we did at the beginning of the BV era. Have we still seen some? Absolutely we have. No question about it. But are the bonehead mistakes costing Oklahoma football games with the regularity that they were previously? No. I mean, they didn't lose the Texas game because of bonehead mistakes. They lost the Texas game because Brent Venables got outcoached, John Mateer got outplayed, and that defense was unable to stop the run in the second half the way that they needed to stop the run to keep Oklahoma in that football game. They lost the Ole Miss game because, and yes, you can point to bonehead mistakes, but more than that, Trinidad Chambliss just outplayed John Mateer. And Ole Miss buckled down defensively when it mattered. And those are the things that will happen in the Southeastern Conference. There will be weeks where the opponent's quarterback, who no doubt will be a really talented player in his own right, will outplay the University of Oklahoma's starting quarterback. There will be weeks where the opposing defense outperforms the Sooners' defense. There will be weeks where you just get beat.
Amen.
Muskogee Finch says, hey, Parker, I don't know who you think you are bringing facts and data into this. That's all I'm trying to do here, Muskogee Finch. That's all I'm trying to do here. A 580 listener says, we're not Saban's Alabama. We're also not Auburn, or shouldn't be. 2 losing seasons, not 8-5, isn't good enough here. We're fighting to get to 8-5. That's unacceptable. And look, I hear you. I'm not trying to say that 8-5 every single year should be the expectation, because obviously it shouldn't. If you're going 8-5 every single year, at that point you're just Mark Stoops' Kentucky in its heyday. And you can't be there. At that point, you have to make change, and radical change, to get back into championship contention. But context matters. Feel like I've said that a lot today. I'll continue to say it. Context matters. We know why Oklahoma went 6-7 a year ago. They went 6-7 because they dealt with more injuries than I have ever in my life seen a college football team deal with, Power 4 or otherwise. It was a mash unit, as Steely said time and again. And so there's a lot of 2024 that I am inclined to throw out the window. Not all of it. There were imperfections. Seth Luttrell was a bad hire. There was objectively some bad that ought to be identified as bad and not disregarded. But when you consider the circumstances that Oklahoma was dealing with, especially from an injury perspective, I'm doing my best to treat 2025 as its own campaign, the reset campaign, if you will. Because I feel like that's what Brent Venables and this staff deserve after the insanely bad luck that they dealt with throughout 2024, just in terms of player availability.
Ryan in Jacksonville says, guys, the reasonable part of this fan base, like myself, can stomach taking a loss due to simply being beaten. But we do self-destruct more than the other good staffs do. 7 to 8 win seasons are fine, but consistently we lose games because of poor details, discipline, and coaching malpractice.
Well, first off, there has not been legitimate coaching malpractice since Seth Luttrell was dismissed.
Well, whatever Brent Venables decided to pull at the end of the first half in the Texas game.
Fair. Okay, that might be the most conspicuous instance that might qualify as coaching malpractice. But here's the thing. That's not an issue exclusive to the University of Oklahoma. Why do football teams lose games? Football teams lose games because they make mistakes, because they commit turnovers, because they are outplayed and out-executed by the opposition. Oklahoma is not the only team in the country, far from it, that makes mistakes. They are not the only team that commits turnovers. They're not the only team that gets outplayed, folks. This happens everywhere. This is how football games are won and lost. And the brutal reality of it is that, in an aggregate sense, you will lose more football games in the SEC over the next couple of decades than you are used to seeing Oklahoma lose in the Big 12 days. Oklahoma won 14 out of 28 Big 12 championships during their membership in the conference. And again, to go back to the point that context matters, that was a very different era. I know it wasn't all that long ago, but as drastically as the landscape of college football has shifted in the last 5 years,
you would have thought it was 50 years ago.
You are no longer in a position where, from a sheer talent perspective, you're going to stand head and shoulders above 90% of other programs in college football. Because there is far more parity of talent, I suppose. The talent pool is far more diversified across the country than it ever has been before because of NIL. A school like Texas Tech can build a roster, the likes of which they've never been able to build before, because all they have to do is invest money. And they have a lot of that. A school like Vanderbilt is sneaky rich. I know there's not
sneaky rich.
But here's the thing. I know that's not the connotation that Vanderbilt carries in a football sense, but when they've got a product that is worth investing in, they will invest in it. You see Vanderbilt sitting here at 7-1, one of the best teams in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Vanderbilt was the doormat of this league for as long as I can remember, until last season. Look at a team like Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is the number 9 team in America right now. BYU is the number 10 team in America right now. And on any given night in the SEC specifically, you have a team on the other sideline that, from a talent standpoint, is not terribly inferior to you, if at all. And if they out-execute you, will win a football game. And so, gone are the days where Oklahoma just has a meteorically better roster than 10 of the 12 opponents that they're going to face over the course of a season.
Which, to Ryan and Jacksonville's point, that's why the coaching has to be buttoned up. Because there is more parity of talent everywhere. So what's going to set you apart or what's going to kick you below? Sometimes that's the in-game coaching from the head coach and the coordinators. Joe Toddy says, and he hits the nail on the head here, if NIL didn't exist, OU would be a top 10 team every year. Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
NIL has shaken things up, man.
And I think the college football world is better for it, too.
Eric in Dallas says, I think our fans need to chill. People fail to realize that to win a championship, it's not being the best team. Sometimes you need luck, and OU hasn't had any. I feel once they break through, it's going to be sustainable because of the way BV has built the team. And there really is truth to that, Eric. And maybe that's not a message everyone wants to hear or receive, but luck does matter. Like, and you have to have some of it in order to play for a championship. The best, and I think the most obvious recent example would be TCU's 2022 season. If you replay TCU's 2022 season over, they went undefeated in the regular season, if you'll recall. Lost the Big 12 championship game to Kansas State, still made the 4-team college football playoff, beat Michigan, then got drubbed by Georgia in the national title. If you replay TCU's 2022 season in its entirety, 100 times over, they probably never go 12-0 in the regular season again.
No.
But they were fortunate that they had some things bounce their way. They won a ton of close football games that came down to the wire where either they went and made a play or the opponent made a mistake. And at the end of the year, there they stood. The only undefeated team left in college football, I do believe, at that point when they lost to Kansas State in the Big 12 championship. So, and that one sticks out because it's TCU, and that's not a team that you're used to seeing in the national title hunt. But every single team that winds up on that championship stage at the end of the season, one of those two teams in the building playing for a national title come the final game of the year, it took some luck to get there. And they had to fight through some adversity along the way. No question about that. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois last year. Ohio State got punked in their regular season finale by a very mediocre Michigan team. And yet it was those two at the end of the year that stood opposite one another for all of the marbles. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, and boy, is it hopping. That conversation there in the first segment kind of bled over from the 1 o'clock hour, but obviously I do want to talk quite a bit of recruiting here today on the show, starting with a little bit of flip watch discussion. And Oklahoma flipped Jasir Rogers, the 4-star wide receiver from Penn State, yesterday. He officially committed to the Sooners. There are a couple other targets that I think the Sooners are in excellent position to flip. We will discuss that, as well as many more of your texts and opinions here on the other side. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. We're just getting started. Keep it here.
Do you eat, sleep, and breathe Sooner football? We do too. This is The Ref, home of Sooner fans.
Where do Oklahoma sports fans go to watch the big game? Gridiron Sports Bar at River Spirit Casino Resort in Tulsa. With multiple viewing screens and a huge LED wall, you'll never miss a play. Enjoy bar-top gaming, Top Golf swing suites, delicious game day food and drinks, and a VIP lounge for top-tier players. Gridiron Sports Bar takes sports fans to another viewing level. Gridiron Sports Bar, Tulsa's fan favorite.
This is Mark Van Hoos, owner of Van Hoos Fence. Van Hoos Fence has years of experience and proven superior performance, kind of like a certain head ball coach.
We know Van Hoos Fence offers the best value and service for your residential, commercial, or sports fencing needs, whether it's a new install or repair work. Let Mark and his team at Van Hoos Fence be your trusted resource.
Call us today at 405-735-1167.
Save yourself from Googling it up. Go to vhfence.com. They will work with you in a great way.
Hey Norman, are you looking for a new Kia? At Sooner Kia of Norman, you can save up to $6,000 or 0% financing on a brand new Kia. Need service? Full synthetic oil changes or alignments are just $69. November 1st, they're hosting the City of Norman Animal Welfare Mobile Pet Adoption. Stop by and meet their new GM. He might be from California, but he's all Okie. Grab a deal you cannot afford to miss. Sooner Kia, 418 North Interstate Drive in Norman. Better deals, better service, better get here now.
Oklahoma Electric Cooperative is looking for 4 high school juniors to send on an all-expenses-paid trip to Washington, D.C. next summer. As part of the youth tour experience, winners will meet lawmakers, explore national landmarks, and more. Want to learn more? Visit okcoop.org/youth tour. That's okcoop.org/YOUTHTOUR for more information. The deadline to enter is November 1st. Don't miss out.
In the midst of this exciting football season and return of big league hoops, don't forget, it's health insurance season. November 1st through December 15th is the only time to renew or change your individual health insurance for 2026 without a qualifying event. Due to federal changes, it's more important than ever. Allison Insurance has guided thousands of Oklahomans toward the right health insurance policy. Call Allison Insurance at 745-2968 or 800-580-5587. Allison Insurance. They are the experts.
A public service announcement from Oklahoma Human Services. Hey Oklahomans, did you know updating your SNAP food benefits info is a snap? Have you changed jobs or hours? Has your monthly cost of housing changed? Have your household members changed? Maybe you've recently moved. If you're a recipient of SNAP benefits in Oklahoma, visit okdhslive.org to update your information. That's okdhslive.org. It's a snap, Oklahoma.
Are our love bugs and companions. They are our pets, our family, and they make life better. When we face unexpected challenges, so do our pets. That's why we're on a mission to support people and their pets. Whether donating a bag of kibble, sharing an Instagram post of a lost cat, or welcoming a foster pet into your home, every bit of kindness counts. Visit petsandpeopletogether.org to learn how to be a helper in your community. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Being a family member's caregiver can be rewarding and challenging. Besides taking an emotional and physical toll, it can also take a real financial toll. Find out if you're eligible to get paid for the care you provide at the AARP Foundation Paid for Care Hub. Developed with support from United Healthcare, this free online tool can help you search compensation programs and explore your options. Go to paidforcare.aarpfoundation.org to learn more.
When you work in the recruiting industry, one of the things that will happen with regularity is that you will get DMs from young high school student athletes who want you to watch their tape, evaluate them, help get them exposure. And there are some that, you know, you turn on the tape and it's like, okay, that guy's a player. Like I remember when Cam Compton-Nero up at Rejoice Christian in Tulsa, who's a 4-star kid in the 2028 class, probably a guy that's going to wind up at OU. I remember when he sent me his tape, I was like, okay, there's a serious player. That's not every DM, though. I would say that's maybe the 5%.
You about to expose somebody here?
The
right
95%. It's not exposing somebody. It's just it's a funny anecdote. I got a DM earlier today, and you know a lot of these people will address you as coach, which obviously I'm not a coach, but you know it's, hey coach, can you check me out? Look at my tape. Help put me in touch maybe with some people that can get me more exposure, get me more offers, get me more looks, and you know it's always a case-by-case basis type of thing from that standpoint. But I got a DM earlier today from a young man who advertised himself as I can't remember what class he was, maybe 2027, class of 2027 offensive tackle from such and such high school in such and such state. And he said, I'm 5'7", 290. And of course, once I read that, I'm thinking, listen, brother, I love the ambition. That's going to take you places in life. I do not think you will be playing college football as an offensive tackle. I'm just going to keep it 100.
Yeah, you played that about the best way you could.
I mean, maybe like you can play center at 5'7" in like the D2 ranks if you're really, really strong and really, really technically sound. Maybe. 5'7", 290, though, I don't think you'll be playing FBS football as an offensive tackle.
No.
Or probably any other position, unfortunately. 405-651.
Hey, he might have a hell of a leg.
Hey, maybe. Could be the new thicker kicker. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. The show is brought to you today and every day by Dorsey Jones GMC out in El Reno. If you are in the market for a brand new vehicle, go check out Dorsey Jones because GMC offers some of the most reliable trucks and SUVs on the road today. And Dorsey Jones has fantastic service, including half-price oil changes on Saturdays at their family-owned and operated establishment. So make the short trek out to El Reno and check them out. What were you giggling about there?
580 Mike Honcho says, 5'7", 290? Is this Butterbean's son?
Glenn from Nashville says, as a dad, I love that story about kids texting you wanting you to look at their game film. My son played baseball in high school. It was actually not bad and had some small college offers. So I know the heart and mind of kids that want to take it to the next level.
Amen.
Amen to that, Glenn from Nashville.
I would say reaching out never hurts.
Never. A 405 listener says, we'll take that kid at tight end. We like buffet guys. Gosh.
And everything, once again, always comes back to Devon Mitchell.
Oh, my goodness. A 405 listener says, hey, Parker, I'm 12 and I can throw the ball 40 yards.
Why the hell are you 12 listening to us?
Can you pass my tape to BV? If you got tape, let me know when you get to 8th grade. Let me know when you get to 8th grade. That's about as early as I will actually sit and watch tape.
Corey,
you're not a prospect, I think, officially. I think the NCAA's official designation of a prospect is you have to be at least 7th grade. Usually it's 8th grade. That's the absolute earliest that I'll start to, like, seriously evaluate a prospect. But more realistically, like, show me some high school varsity tape.
Yeah.
In 95% of cases.
Corey from Newcastle says, could be the next Jared Lorenzen.
Even Jared Lorenzen, like that was, he was a very physically impressive human being.
Yeah.
And I'm not just, I'm not specifically talking about the weight. That, like, he was, what, 6'4"?
Yeah.
He was big.
Yeah.
He had 1,000 nicknames. The hefty lefty, Jared Lorenzen, gone way too soon. Big Rich in OKC says, hey, Coach, I'm 6'11", 105 pounds. Can you get my name out there? Is that Chet Holmgren texting in? 4 or 5 listeners said, baby Gronk. Oh, man. Well, folks, the places this show will take us sometimes. Let's talk about Taven Epps, shall we?
Yeah, he's impressive.
Yeah, that's a dude. That's a dude that's got a future ahead of him as a P4 college football player. No doubt about that. 6'4", 215 pounds out of Tustin, California. Originally a native of Texas, he is currently committed to the Longhorns. But Grayson Singleton, after his visit to Oklahoma this past weekend, I feel very, very strongly about Oklahoma's chances to flip Taven Epps from the University of Texas. And what a development that would be, because it has been a good long time since the Sooners pulled off a flip from their most hated rival. Do you have to go back to Billy Bowman? Was Billy Bowman the last player that Oklahoma flipped from Texas? Offhand, I want to say I am correct on that. I want to say Billy Bowman back in, what would that have been, October of 2020? I think he is the last prospect that the Sooners have flipped from UT. So it's been a little while. Texas flipped Colton Vasek from Oklahoma more recently. They wound up landing DeAndre Moore, who decommitted from Oklahoma. And so it's been more than a minute since Oklahoma got the chance to truly play the villain.
Text line has a question. Does Kobe McKenzie count?
That's such. Yes, I guess technically that counts. He was committed to Texas for 8 days.
Still committed.
Yeah, I guess that counts, but I don't know that Kobe was ever going to sign with Texas. But yeah, I mean, I guess if we're being technical here, Kobe is the last guy to flip from Texas to OU. See, it's so easy to forget that ever happened. That was such a bizarre couple of weeks. Seeing Kobe McKenzie in a Texas uniform Weird stuff. Weird stuff. Fever dream stuff. But yes, good call to all of you on the text line that mentioned Kobe McKenzie. Lost City Sooner says, if you have never seen the Butterbean versus Johnny Knoxville fight in the department store, do yourself a favor and Google it. Well, I guess there's your homework for the weekend, folks. But on Taven Epps, this is a guy that Oklahoma, to my understanding, Grayson, wants to play in kind of a hybrid role, kind of a Nick Bonito type of role. If you remember Nick Bonito, and that was a different time schematically for Oklahoma. But in talking with Epps, that's what the Oklahoma staff has pitched him on, is a role in which he is rushing the passer off the edge quite a bit, but also dropping back into coverage, playing outside linebacker in a more traditional sense. And that's reminiscent of the role that Bonito had when he was at Oklahoma from 2018 to 21. He was a 3-year starter, 19 to 21 for the Sooners. And obviously one of the more he might be, honestly, pound for pound, the best football player in the NFL amongst Oklahoma alumni. There is stiff competition. Obviously, Trent Williams has the lengthiest resume. That's a first-ballot Hall of Famer. But right this second, I don't know if there's an Oklahoma Sooner in the NFL who's a better football player than Nick Bonito. He's up there.
No, he's the Defensive Player of the Year right now.
Yeah, he had an outstanding career at Oklahoma, played that role very well. And it does you good, as we've seen in Brent Venables' defense, it does you good to have playmakers on that side of the ball that offer versatility, that can do more than one thing. If you can do more than one thing, the odds you will see the field for Brent Venables go up dramatically. And so for Taven Epps, again, a guy who's 6'4", 215, you'd figure he's probably playing at more of a traditional 6'4", 235, 240 type of linebacker size at the next level, if not even a little bit bulkier than that, just depending on how he carries it. He could be a really fun player in Oklahoma's scheme if he were to wind up a Sooner, and I think the odds are good right now. I think Oklahoma, I know he's still nominally committed to Texas. I believe Oklahoma has reset the pace in that recruitment.
You know, this is a dude that, because of his skill set and what he plays in high school, you guys remember what Penn State did with Abdul Carter and Micah Parsons in that kind of way, where you had a dude who was excellent as an edge rusher, but you also played him as an off-ball linebacker. If you watch Taven Epps' tape at high school, that's what that looks like. He's very instinctual, very fast. Speed and violence would sum up his game, because when he hits somebody, that somebody hits the ground very hard. So you want more nastiness on this football team? Look no further than that dude. But positional versatility is where you hit the nail on the head.
Speed and violence, love that combination.
Yeah,
love it. Sooner Shannon Springfield wants to know, can he become a Kendall Daniels?
He's more naturally a linebacker than Kendall Daniels was. Remember, Kendall Daniels was a safety.
Kendall Daniels is just such a unique athlete. Who's another player across all of college football right now that is
Caleb Downs,
akin to a Kendall Daniels?
Caleb Downs, but he's not that big.
He's not. Like, Kendall Daniels is a legit 6'4", 6'5",
yes,
240-pound dude with a safety's skill set.
Yes.
And he's playing cheetah in Brent Venables' defense. So I don't know where you're going to find another Kendall Daniels. I don't know when you're going to find another Kendall Daniels.
Nope.
Honestly, I think the guy that is probably most similar to him on Oklahoma's current roster is actually Michael Boganowski.
Correct.
But we know where he's going to play in the years ahead. He's going to play that free safety spot for Oklahoma. He is going to take over, you would expect, in a full-time role once Robert Spears-Jennings graduates, and Boganowski projects to be that guy at that position in 2026 and hopefully 2027 as well. But odds are you're not just going to find another Kendall Daniels roaming the streets somewhere.
I mean, and I told y'all were going to love Kendall Daniels, and he's going to fit very well in this scheme, and he certainly has. Good pull from Corey from Newcastle, by the way. Kendall Daniels is what we had hoped Desan McCullough was going to be.
I think he stole that from me.
Oh,
I wrote that a couple of weeks ago at OUinsider.com. Maybe we're just on the same wavelength, and there was no actual theft there.
Hey, don't plagiarize, Corey. Come on,
but
now.
no. He's exactly. I mean, that's
no. I mean, he is right.
When you look at what Kendall Daniels has done in his 8 games as an Oklahoma Sooner, it is absolutely the case that he has been everything Oklahoma imagined and talked as if Dasan McCullough would be, and he just never really lived up to it. He's done well for himself at Nebraska. And that's encouraging to see. He's one of those guys. He was always a ton of fun to interact with, always a ton of fun to interview. Glad Dasan McCullough is making it work up there as a Cornhusker, having a pretty good year up in Lincoln. But, yeah, Kendall Daniels, I would say, for Oklahoma's scheme, for Oklahoma's defensive system, for what's asked of him in that cheetah role, he's been markedly better than Dasan McCullough was in that role.
Let me ask you this before we get to more texts, because this just popped into my head. What do you think he plays in the NFL?
Probably linebacker, I would think. Yeah, probably linebacker.
And does it work out better than it did with Isaiah Simmons? Because nobody could figure out what to do with Isaiah Simmons in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it does, by the way. But you do have to figure out, okay, what are we going to do with this dude?
He's a draft pick at this point, isn't he?
You would think he's no later than a mid-third round pick if he gets that far. Because remember, Isaiah Simmons was pick number 7 in the draft. Now, he may not be as good as Isaiah Simmons coming out of college, but I feel like there's a market for a 6'5", 240 dude that is naturally a safety.
I don't know if there were many NFL draft pick conversations happening regarding Kendall Daniels before the season, but he was certainly one of those guys that if he had a good enough year, he could really vault himself into that conversation seriously, and he certainly has to this point.
Past My Prime says, my nephews played against Daniels in high school. He didn't really play a position. He just did everything, which is what you do with a guy like him.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, and it was kind of that way for Boganowski watching him at Junction City. I guess in technicality he was playing that safety spot, but basically – or no, he wasn't playing safety. He was playing middle linebacker, and he would occasionally rotate back there to safety. But basically he was on the field just to go get the ball.
Yes.
Get the guy with the ball.
Just you do what you need to do.
Uh-huh. I think the one time I went and watched Boganowski his senior year on a Friday night up in JC, I want to say he had 20 tackles that night.
Of course he did.
Yeah. Fun football player. Excited to see more of him moving forward. Okay, folks, 405-651-3439. Let's get a quick word in from our sponsors. We'll return with one final segment of Locked In here on a Tuesday. Keep it right here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Sound off any time of day on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439. Knippelmeyer Chevrolet in Blanchard, USA.
Tired of feeling pressured by salespeople when shopping for auto insurance? At Right Way Insurance, there's no hard sell, just a clear, straightforward approach. We work with multiple insurance companies to give you the best options and rates with no gimmicks. You'll get the right coverage tailored to your needs, all while avoiding hidden fees and confusing policies. So if you're ready for a better experience with auto insurance, visit rightwayinsuranceok.com or call 405-607-6014 for your free quote today. Right Way Insurance, no pressure, just the right insurance for you.
Sooner Nation, are you ready? Football season is here, and new arrivals are landing daily at Balfour of Norman from your favorite brands. Whether you're dressing for game day, setting up the perfect tailgate, or hosting the ultimate watch party, we've got everything you need. Live from historic Campus Corner in Norman, Oklahoma. Shop Balfour of Norman, your home of everything Sooner. Shop in store or online at crimsonproud.com.
Getting your first license? Come to Fusen Tag Title and License. We'll help you get your learner's permit, take your drive test, and once you pass, you can get your license or permit and snap a pic in our fun photo booth. Teens, adults, if you need a driver's license or real ID, we've got you covered. Call 405-364-1151 or visit FusenTag.com for more info. Saturday morning walk-ins welcome. Celebrate your big day the fun way at Fusen.
Hey, it's Chris Plank. Every weekday morning, join us for The Plank Show. Blake Gamble and myself take you through everything going on in the world of sports and the Sooner Nation. We bring you great guests, your reaction on the text line, and of course, your calls on the Riverwind Casino jackpot line. So make sure, from border to border and coast to coast, to download the new KREF app. Simply search KREF in the App Store, and you'll always be connected not only to The Plank Show, but the Ref Radio Network, the home of Sooner fans. Download the app today.
Looking for a sweet holiday tradition? Join the Norman Public School Foundation for Gingerbread Jingle on Saturday, December 13th from 10 a.m. to noon. Create treasured memories while decorating pre-assembled gingerbread houses with gourmet candy, take photos with Santa, write letters to the North Pole, enjoy sweet treats, and more. This festive event supports the Norman Public School Foundation, enhancing educational experiences for more than 16,000 students. Don't miss the holiday magic that makes a difference. Learn more at npsfok.org.
To some, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much, but that's not true. They're testing out vowels and consonants and trying different sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on meaning, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
When it comes to buying a home, you need a winning game plan. At Stride Bank, our mortgage team helps you get from kickoff to closing with competitive rates, local expertise, and personalized service. Whether it's your first home or your forever home, we'll be right there on the field with you. Learn more at stridebank.com. Stride Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Stride Bank on your team since 1913 with Oklahoma roots and nationwide reach.
This is kind of funny. I didn't realize this till yesterday, scrolling twitter.com. I guess the visiting team's locker room at the University of Alabama, which the Sooners will inhabit a couple weeks from now when they travel to Tuscaloosa, is literally called the Fail Room. Because they had a donor at the University of Alabama who has long since passed. But they had a donor at the University of Alabama whose last name was Fail, F-A-I-L. And he donated money to the university with the specific request that the visiting team's locker room be named after him.
Genius.
That, folks.
Genius.
That is SEC ready right there. What a legend.
Solid.
Props to Mr. Fail. Whatever his name may have been. I can't recall what his first name was. But that's pretty fantastic. That is the epitome of SEC ready right there.
Now, I will say, being Mr. Fail, I don't know if you want that name.
Hey, clearly he made enough money to extend a large financial contribution to the University of Alabama. So he did all right for himself. I'll change my last name to Fail, too, if I can be that financially well-to-do.
Fair enough.
Sooner 287 on the text line wants to know anything new on Jaden Petit. We're in a holding pattern there, Sooner 287. There is confidence from the Oklahoma side that he is going to come around and wind up the final addition to Oklahoma's wide receiver class in the 2026 cycle, because it does look like Milan Paris is going to be a Miami Hurricane, which, as we talked about, when you're up against Miami and Oregon, it's a bit of a different ball game than fighting Oklahoma State for Xavier Okafuleze, or doing battle with Tulane for Braden Allen, or trying to flip Jaden Petit from Wisconsin, right? Competition's a little bit stiffer in that regard. Now, Missouri is also involved with Petit, It's unclear right now whether they're going to be able to get him back to campus for a visit before he makes a decision, but Missouri is in the picture. You know, it's kind of vindicating because I reported to members at OUinsider.com at the end of towards the end of June. I was like, yeah, what I'm hearing is that this is primarily an Oklahoma-Missouri battle. Wisconsin's in it, but it feels like Oklahoma and Missouri are the two schools that he's most serious about. And then he commits to Wisconsin. And then I kind of look like an idiot in the moment, but now here we are. And
oh, you got a lot of grief for that one.
Yeah, here we are in October, and OU Missouri is what it is, after all. But, yeah, I think the Sooners wind up with Jaden Petit right now. That is my current feeling on the matter. And as to when we may get a resolution there, I am not clear. He's going to be decommitting from Wisconsin. I think everybody can kind of see the writing on the wall there. That is a program that is they're in a bad situation. There's no sugarcoating it. There's no nice way to say it. They're in complete and utter disarray right now. Word on the street is they want to fire Luke Fickell, but don't have the money together to pay his buyout, which is huge. And on that note, man, I have to wonder, when is the market going to correct? When are college football administrators collectively going to come to the realization that we've been structuring these contracts way too aggressively for the last several years? And we have allowed buyout totals to get completely out of control.
I don't know. And my quick answer to that question is, I don't think it ever will. Like, I just don't. And I thought that because you have to commit so much money to a roster now, that it would make these colleges a little bit more patient in terms of firing coaches so they don't have to eat as much of a buyout as they've had to. But clearly this year just took that take and threw it right in my face because these colleges are getting more impatient as the day goes. So I don't know because ultimately everybody's going to keep trying to spend money. The money that is spent will not stop. And because the money that is being spent will not stop, if your product isn't good enough, that makes people more impulsive to make changes. So I don't see the market correcting at all.
Jimmy in Edmond asks, so you might have answered this, but do we have a quarterback coming in this next year? Or will it be portal again? I know we have Hawkins, but thinking ahead. Here is what I can tell you definitively, Jimmy in Edmond. Oklahoma is keeping an eye on several quarterbacks that are likely transfer portal candidates, including a guy I've brought up before, Jaden Craig at Harvard. He's a quarterback I really, really like. 6'3", 230. He's played great ball for the Crimson this year. He's going to have 1 year of eligibility left, and you have to figure he's going to be looking for that P4 upgrade. But Oklahoma is going to keep an eye out because here's what you can't do. You can't assume for a second that you're going to be able to retain all four of your scholarship quarterbacks. Because let's be completely honest with ourselves here, Grayson. Is there any guarantee that John Mateer is back in 2026?
No.
Is there any guarantee that Michael Hawkins is back in 2026?
Even more of a no.
Is there any guarantee that Whit Neubauer and Jet New are still around in 2026?
No and no.
Now, it's certainly possible that you do retain all four of those guys. That's on the table. Unlikely, but on the table. You have to be prepared and ready to react, though, in the event that you lose one of your depth pieces or perhaps your starter at the most important position on the football field. What you don't want is to get taken by surprise again like Oklahoma was, for instance, at the end of the spring when Cole Gonzalez decided to transfer out and head to Pitt. Y'all remember Cole Gonzalez? Wasn't around very long. 4 months. That was all. Western Carolina transfer. Former teammate of Derek Simmons. Spent the spring with OU, and that was it. So, Oklahoma always wants to carry 4 scholarship quarterbacks. We've talked about this. This goes back to the events of October 8th, 2022, in which the Sooners were utterly decimated at the position and got spanked by Texas in the Cotton Bowl, 49-0. Oklahoma always wants to carry 4 scholarship quarterbacks, and so they will be ready to react and to respond in the event that they have to address QB depth in the portal. You do have Bo Bentley coming in the 26th cycle, right? So you're going to have Bo Bentley in the room. You know that much. That's the one thing that you feel you can reliably count on at this point. On this exact date, at this exact moment in time, October 28th, 2025, you would expect that John Mateer is going to return. But a month ago, on September 28th, 2025, we all would have figured, John Mateer's headed to the NFL at the end of the season. So there are 4 games left, plus the postseason, whatever that looks like for Oklahoma, for John Mateer to recapture some of his NFL draft stock, and it is a weak quarterback class. It will be a weak quarterback class. And so if John Mateer plays really well in the month of November, maybe there is more of a conversation surrounding his candidacy as an NFL draft pick than there is at this particular moment in time. But I think you move forward with the belief, maybe not the expectation, but the belief that the most likely outcome for Oklahoma in 2026 at quarterback is that you're running it back with John Mateer as your starter. Some people might love that. Some people might hate that. I think that's just the reality of the situation. Odds are he's going to be back in 2026. And then beyond that, who knows what the rest of the room looks like. Does Whit Neubauer want to keep being a backup? Does Michael Hawkins want to keep being a backup? Where is Jet New at? Does he want to go join forces with his brother at Oklahoma State, which is where he's committed to play tight end right now? There's no way of knowing right now.
Hey, Topher B dropped this note in our YouTube chat, which, by the way, we are on YouTube. Another RPM for Gabe Osborne to land at Oklahoma.
Yep.
Pretty predictable.
Not surprising. Like where Oklahoma stands in the recruitment of Gabe Osborne. Blue chip prospect. Mustang, Oklahoma, formerly Putnam City kid.
Yep.
Transferred to Mustang, where he's had a nice junior year so far. And, yeah, I don't get the sense that recruitment is, imminently close to over, but Oklahoma is in a very, very strong position with Osborne, and I would say they lead.
Number 6 player in the state.
Listener in Arkansas says, I love running back. Year 2 of Lebby and DG was way better than year 1. Way better. You're right. And year 1 wasn't bad either for Lebby and DG. But year 2 was substantially better. And to me, this is what I keep going back to, Grayson, is if you want to build a championship contender, it doesn't absolutely require continuity. There's not an exact one-to-one correlation between championship teams and continuity on staff and within the player personnel aspect of things, but it absolutely helps.
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely helps.
Yeah.
And so I don't think there's a better example. People want to ask, well, why can't we just microwave success the way that Kurt Cignetti is at Indiana? He's really not microwaving anything when you sit down and think about it, because he brought a lot of his JMU players with him.
And a lot of his coordinators.
And his coordinators have been with him each for almost a decade, I do believe.
Yep.
So he has a formula, and it works. Now, he relocated from JMU to Indiana, but he maintained the continuity on his staff, particularly with his 2 coordinators, Mike Shanahan and Brian Haynes. And so that formula, all he had to do was just plug and play it in Bloomington, and look where it has the Hoosiers.
And think about Alabama, too. Ryan Grubb did not come with Kalen DeBoer from Washington. He went to the NFL. He was the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks. But what happens is that Kalen DeBoer doesn't have the right quarterback to run his system with Jalen Milroe. But he gets it with Ty Simpson and then says, I'm going to bring back Ryan Grubb. So sometimes the way you go about instilling the continuity at a particular place takes a little bit of a funky road. But when you've got it, look at Alabama's offense.
I would feel most comfortable, and I know not everyone will agree with this because feelings are all over the place, emotions are all over the place right now, but I would feel most comfortable with Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer coming back in their current roles at Oklahoma in 2026. I think that's the easy thing to feel most comfortable about. Now, you can make an argument there might be a higher ceiling if Mateer goes to the NFL and it's the Michael Hawkins show, or you bring in a transfer, like whatever that may look like. But I think if you value stability, if you value continuity, and you expect that with stability and continuity, you're going to continue to improve as an offense, and the individual players therein are going to continue to improve and grow more comfortable, the best outcome, at least from that standpoint, is Arbuckle and Mateer in tandem back in Norman in 2026. No doubt people will feel very differently about that, for better or worse, depending on how the last 4 games of this regular season go. So we'll see where we stand at the end of November. But speaking of the end, that is the end of this show for today. For Grayson, Singleton, I am Parker Thune. Thanks for hanging with us today on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Always a fun show. We'll turn it over to Tyler and Ted next. The Rush coming up here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.